off with your latitude and longitude. You said the Bering Sea. That was enough. There's not a single person in the theater that's like, oh, that part of the Bering Sea. Now I'm truly intrigued.
The most fearsome killing machine ever devised by man.
Ooh, are we about to watch Oppenheimer by mistake? Fine by me. I'd rather sit through 3 hours of a complete movie than 2.5 hours of an unfinished one. Spinning camera on a big red ball. Spinning camera inside big red ball. Flashing red lights. AI excitement?
He's there. Turning with us again.
He can see us.
It may not be fair, but anytime you have a game of cat and mouse between a top secret Russian stealth sub and an American sub, you're going to get a sin for not being the Hunt for Red October. One ding only, please.
Hi, Captain. Making Troop 2 ready in all respects.
Weird, that's the same thing my college girlfriend used to say every naval roleplay night. This weird-ass chess match where 5 moves in, neither player has attempted to control the middle of the board by the pawn.
He was never there. We've been chasing a phantom.
Right, because an AI was like, I have control over this entire vessel in any way I want, but you know what feels fun? A game of Ghost Chicken. I am computer AI. I will make spooky noises and scary eyeball graphics while no one is even in here to see them. You cannot stop me from my pointless grandstanding. Not providing me latitude and longitude, so I know where exactly in Amsterdam this is.
You need to ask me the security question first.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. What is the oath?
Trying to offset Tom Cruise's intensity with an adorable Brit as if you didn't already have a Benji serving that purpose.
30 years ago, you were offered the choice. Join the IMF or spend your life in prison.
We're 7 movies deep and now you want to give us Ethan Hunt origins?
Just as you will never forget the death that brought you to us all those years ago.
Yet another sequel jumpstarts the plot by showing us an event from the protagonist's past that didn't exist until this movie invented it. You have 6 movies of content spanning 27 years, so why not pull from some of that shit?
This is to remind you of your oath and allegiance to us.
Ethan Hunt, this is your reminder that you're a piece of shit and we own you. And hey, remember that woman you liked who got shot? Yeah, she's still dead, f***o. Have a crappy mission.
The stakes of this mission are higher than ever.
Of course they are. Higher than that time a Scotsman with a virus was going to wipe out all the world, or that time those bad guys got a hold of those nukes, or that time Discount Spectre also got a hold of some nukes.
Your habitual rogue behavior will not be tolerated.
Why? Because the fallout would break protocol?
What should concern you is the involvement of your friend, Ilsa Faust.
Wait the f*** on a minute. Fallout had that subplot about getting Ilsa out of trouble and away from the spy game, and I'm pretty sure Rogue Nation did something similar too. And now she's back in the mix? There better be a good reason for bringing her back again, and it had better not be to just kill her off for a cheap emotional punch. Continuing to use cassette tapes that could be listened to by anyone who understands how to push the play button instead of encrypted digital audio files. Some quick movie trivia for you. Tom Cruise spent 5 weeks training on how to use actual binoculars just to get this scene right. Becoming a pirate just because you can't close your left eye. No one, not even the horse Ethan rode in on, believes Ilsa is dead right now. Like this movie would kill Ilsa. Come on.
Which was of little concern to us, as it often suited our purposes.
Until 6 months ago, when the entity breached Saudi Arabia's General Intelligence Directorate.
And assimilated.
Not only are these 5 seamlessly finishing each other's exposition, like they've been running rehearsals for weeks, they are doing so with all the energy and believability of that time I saw a 2nd grade presentation of Our America, Our Corn.
Sending a very clear message.
I shall return.
The amount of work this county production of Tennessee Williams' Exposition Descending is doing is insane. It's not only laying out yards of forced factual groundwork, it's then making huge leap assumptions about the motives and next steps of this completely new and unknown entity. The scene is making an ass out of you, me, and itself.
But servers require humans to maintain them.
And humans are the weakest link in any security chain.
Movie dismisses the air gap solution because humans have to maintain it, and instead goes with the type every secret onto paper plan, as if the beings doing the typing, collecting, archiving, and overseeing aren't homo sapien in nature. This whole scene is the dumbest expositional force feeding to ever dumb itself down an audience's throat.
An enemy that is everywhere and nowhere.
I feel like this guy was cast exclusively because he kind of looks like he'd make a good Terminator.
You don't want to kill it, sir. You want to control it.
And how do we do that, Mr. Kittredge?
Sudden 1996 Mission Impossible callbacks. While I don't object on the whole, it is rather striking that Kittredge is the only minion in this briefing that actually gets a name check, as if he's the only one the scriptwriters cared about.
The Russians have focused the majority of their intelligence activity on acquiring 2 halves of a cruciform key.
We, the audience, know that this is a Russian key that unlocks something on a Russian sub, so can't the Russians just make a new key?
The Russians seem to believe that it somehow has the power to deactivate our mysterious entity.
Sure is cool that the only way to stop this evil AI is through this physical puzzle key that our heroes have to go on a quest for. Sorry, I meant cool for the movie. Pretty dumb if you live in the real world, I hope.
Do you believe that? Kittredge.
This is the second time that Wesley has forced Kittredge's name into the conversation, as if to say to the audience, yeah, we know he's been missing for 5 movies, but just go with it, okay?
Well, we know that a buyer is passing somewhere through the Middle East sometime in the next 72 hours.
Do you know how big the Middle East is? F***ing big is how big. Do you know how long 72 hours is in Spy World? I don't know, but I bet it's f***ing long. It's almost impressive to have actionable intelligence specific enough to be sinful, but vague enough to be useless.
So let me get this straight. When there's a mission none of you can handle, you just leave word for a nameless man and hope he gets the job done.
David Luckner would be excellent at CinemaSins.
Should he choose to accept it?
What the hell kind of outfit gets to choose what orders to accept?
This scene has rapidly become an everything wrong with the IMF in Cary Elwes minutes or less. This is only a surprise to the movie illiterate watchers who didn't wonder why the movie cut to 17 different close-ups of this random person who didn't speak at all during this scene. Also, there are exactly 22 seconds between the green bombs of immediate impact going off and Ethan taking out his breathing apparatus. You're telling me that no one in that room could hold their breath for 22 fucking seconds? Wait, are there still bad guys out here? Did they take a dusty cigarette break so Ilsa and Ethan could have their big moment and then do a full setup of her supposed death that was intricate enough to fool the intelligence agencies?
Whatever the completed key unlocks.
We'll just have to wait a few years, because why have just one movie when you can do less editing work and just make it 2?
Stay out of my way.
I can't do that.
What? Ethan Hunt is going rogue and is about to be disavowed by the people he works for? Didn't see that coming. Also, one way to keep Kittredge out of your way is to not have this conversation with him and let him know you have the key half. What actionable intel did Ethan actually gain during this conversation?
So just how do you plan on getting out of here? Of course.
Magical masks that just self-apply in seconds that would take makeup artists hours to accomplish. Yes, we're still sending these f***ing masks. It's our mission, and we continue to choose to accept it. Spoiling your own movie and your own opening credits. Also waiting 30 minutes to roll them. It's time. Hollywood has fallen in love with multi-part films, and it always makes the first movie worse. I'm throwing 5 sins on any and every movie that is a part 1 from here until I forget to do so. Even if you decide someday to try to hide your sin by dropping the part 1 from the title, we know half a movie when we see it, and we will continue to act accordingly.
His agenda represents a threat to our national interest, and he must be neutralized at all costs.
When you say at all costs, do you really mean that? Because you could hurl a nuke at him, and, well, the cost would be high. You'd definitely f*** him up.
Truth-eating digital parasite infesting all of cyberspace.
X.
Meaning this very conversation is technically an act of treason.
Nope. Technically, an act of treason has to be an actual act. In fact, the only reason the Constitution even mentions treason is so that it can limit it to people who actively levy war against America or give aid and comfort to an enemy of the U.S. Not only that, but within the last 100 years, the courts have specifically cleared speech and ideas from being able to be treasonous. Boom! Constitution! So, this is the guy that shot Hunt's lady friend back in the day. Now, I initially assumed the tape mentioned the shooting because the IMF knew that Gabriel was involved, but that was not the case at all. Gabriel had nothing to do with that initial mission to capture Ilsa. It's just a big old sack of coincidence that this guy shows up on this adventure just days after Tape Guy mentioned him. Packing twice as many guns as you need for the job. How many pairs of shoes do you really need, Susan?
How did you do that?
No one is safe from Phineas Freak.
And that non-answer is all the explanation we will ever get about that.
What if somebody is trying to smuggle a bomb onto that plane?
And what if that's what the entity wants us to think, to keep Ethan off that plane?
In 2 sentences, the movie self-owns by showing how nothing in this entire part 1 can actually be understood or truly matter to the audience. Just an absolute master of an own goal. Impressive, really.
Whoa. Whoever she is, she's no spy.
Not understanding that people contain multitudes.
Hi.
Hello.
Oh, just already.
I'll scream.
Please do.
Oh, just already. Is this thing on?
And why was this drive in your pocket?
Ethan pickpockets back the key and the drive without her knowing and then decides to just let her know through some quick magical callbacks? But why? How does this help him? Isn't he skilled enough to put them back on the mark himself or figure out a cover story?
Ethan, the alloy in that key she took off the buyer doesn't match. It's counterfeit.
So the counterfeit somehow included the radiological signature of the dragon's egg embedded in the key so you could track it, but wasn't smart enough to match its alloy? Something isn't adding up here, and one of these geniuses should be all over it.
So, what do I call you?
How about Grace?
The key is a crucifix. You're named Grace. At least the person helping the entity isn't named after an angel. That might be a bit too on the nose.
Also, it appears to be nuclear.
How big?
I mean, does it matter how big? If this is a baby nuke, would the outcome be any different? Is Luthor going to say, don't worry, Benji, if it's small, we'll just let it explode and kill a bunch of people and make a good chunk of Abu Dhabi uninhabitable for the next century or dozen? No biggie.
I haven't got any tools.
Then find some.
Well, where am I gonna find?
Did he just grab a random passenger bag and whip it open to search for bomb disarming tools? Unless you're planning to use a toothbrush, a belt buckle, or a vibrator for this job, I'm thinking that's quite an ask.
Is this where we run?
Not yet.
Conversation Tom Cruise has every day with every director of every movie he's been in somehow makes it into the script.
What's always approaching but never arrives?
Wait. I know this one.
The clock is ticking, Luthor.
Riddles aren't my thing, Benji. What more can I say?
You just said you knew this one, you backpedaling
What is always approaching but never arrives?
Tomorrow.
That bomb better have also been programmed to accept next week, next month, next year, and the next Avatar movie.
I've got no more questions and there's one more wheel. How am I supposed to give answers if I've got no questions? I've got 45 seconds!
Could he not just spin the f***ing dial? He said there were 14 letters on each ring, and he's got 45 seconds to go. That's like 3 seconds for each ring. Start spinning, Benji!
In the time it takes me to explain, we're all gonna be dead!
But I will keep yelling a countdown at you anyway. Did she just slide in there conveniently at the last possible second? Is that the only way to the boarding area for Rome? I was told all roads led there. Tom Cruise finds an excuse to sprint in a movie cliche.
But it has allowed us to keep tabs on this woman.
Figuring out how to do this coordinated analog PowerPoint presentation between these cathode ray TVs in a totally computer-free environment is exactly why you can't trust the government to spend your tax money wisely.
Graft lab, extortion in Mumbai. But this is my favorite. Resisting arrest in Rio.
I need an entire TED Talk and maybe even a supplemental masterclass on why this man finds resisting arrest in Rio to be his favorite. Characters we barely know are being watched by another character we've barely seen at all to intersect with a third character we just met who's being followed by a villain that hasn't said a single word in a movie that's been going for almost an hour with hardly any plot advancement. Let's go!
Your friends from the airport. Saw them in the hallway a few minutes ago.
You could have said something sooner.
Well, they were chasing you, not me.
Yes, but he is your ticket out of here. If he gets snatched before you leave, you're f***ed. And if you don't care about him being your escape route, why give over all the information about why you were hired?
Perfectito.
Only in Italy could the word for pervert sound so adorable. F***ing Italy. Of course, there's just an open police car, complete with keys in the ignition for her. Why not? And double, of course, there's a motorcycle for Hunt because Tom Cruise loves motorcycles. Just one time, I'd like it to be a convenient Segway or pedalo.
Hunt, listen to me. Listen to me. Let her go and put him on.
Hunt is pretty well cornered here, but fear not, there's a Deus Ex Manticina right around the corner.
I'm done. I'm not doing this.
People are chasing us.
I mean, you'd think so, wouldn't you? But they always seem to be nowhere to be seen when you guys need to stop for a bit of talkie-talkie.
What are we doing?
Finding us a new car.
Wait, were safe house, safe boat, and safe car the only options? What if I needed a safe plane, a safe bank, or some safe sex?
Hey, look, I'm sorry. This is...
It's okay.
No, this car, the way they...
It's okay.
See, it's funny because the confident man is having performance issues in front of the pretty lady. 2023 movie using the Spanish Steps as a place to do crazy automobile stunts cliche. Okay, so it was just the 2 movies, but if your buddy in the category is Fast X, you're getting a sin. When Grace takes this turn, she almost sideswipes this car parked at the corner. But a second later, when still unnamed henchperson does it, the car has apparently engaged its cloaking device, and we all know that that year and model of the car was made before cloaking devices became a standard feature. I've run this back several times, and they are clearly still handcuffed to each other when they crash on the tracks. So she had 3 seconds to get the paperclip, unlock her handcuff, and attach it to the steering wheel without looking and with a single hand, and all without one of the most observant humans in history noticing the cuff nanigans? Nope.
Ethan! Well, come on!
Ethan will now ride along in silence instead of shouting, "How the f*** did you know I'd be right here?" Also, it's super hard to give a shit about a plan going sideways when ex machinas like this immediately appear. This franchise is filled with scenes that finish with some sort of, "Oh no, this is an unsalvageable disaster, whatever will we do?" And before we've had time to process that, we jackknife into, "Nah, school man, we got plan B ready to go. Why were you even worried?" Hunt actually seems happy to see Ilsa instead of shouting, "Why aren't you staying dead? I have risked so much to keep you alive, goddammit."
The only man who can't be found anyplace else in the airport except that reflection.
I can see this being the type of error a human might make, but an AI? Surely it's just scrubbing all the airport footage for Gabriel's face, so what the f***? difference does it make whether that face is found in a reflection?
You don't know Gabriel. I do.
No, you knew who he was. The last time you saw Gabriel was close to, if not more than, 30 years ago. For all you know, he's turned over a new leaf and just really likes international travel.
No, you have to go. You have to go.
Ethan.
This is the part of the movie where Ethan convinces everyone he has to do this alone. And they say, no, Ethan, we love you. We can risk our lives if we want. And he'll say, man, I love you guys. Isn't friendship great? I hope I can live with myself when you all die.
The entity knows who we are. Any move we make, it's probably considered it. Anything we do, we have to assume that it's counting on us to do it.
It's almost like having a supposed all-seeing, all-knowing force that we know nothing about as your antagonist sucks all the tension right out of the story, huh? Don't mind me. I'm just standing here thinking about my thoughts against the most cinematic backdrop possible.
It's my first time in Venice.
And it's my first time in this movie to skip.
Let's go to a party.
Oh, good. These two have arrived. They're like the Stadler and Waldorf for the movie, but instead of being funny characters with witty asides, they're not that.
And you're Gabriel, I presume. I've heard so very little about you.
Same, lady. Same.
Should I know you?
Geez, Grace, they did a whole circle jerk of exposition about her like 5 minutes ago to avoid this confusion. Keep up.
She doesn't have it.
I'm not about to endorse a non-consensual cavity search, but he cannot be certain of that fact.
It's in the last place you would ever think to look.
Oh, f*** off. How does that immediately equate to Zola's pocket? Did Tom Cruise train to be psychic for this movie?
You could even say that this party is that interested party.
You could also say that this party thinks the party that is that party and bored this party so much that party has a pooper and the pooper is you.
Parsing every possible cause and effect, every scenario, however implausible, into a very real map of a most probable next.
So this whole situation is some kind of mix between the Precogs and Minority Report, Skynet from Terminator, and Doctor Strange and Infinity War. Neat. Fine. The black and white costuming here is pretty cool. Gabriel is dressed in white with a black undershirt to indicate he thinks he's an angel, but is dark at his core. Ethan is in a black suit with a white shirt underneath because he feels lost in darkness, but his soul is pure. Alana is dressed in all white because her motives are clear, and Ilsa in all black because her fate is not. And Grace is in perfect balance of white and black to represent that she is the key to balancing the Force, or some shit. Now, can we please get back to an action scene for fuck's sake? This is the second time in this movie that someone has used sleight of hand to show a valuable item to someone who didn't know they had it, and it was dumb both times. Tom Cruise finds an excuse to sprint in a move. Wait, haven't we done this one already? Dear God, he's evolving into his final form.
The entity is knocking out satellites faster than I can hack into them.
Luther's fleshy brain seems shocked that a computer is better at computing than he is.
Ethan, our comms have been breached. You're talking to the entity.
The real sin is that even the US government knew to go all analog, but these guys were like, nah, let's keep using our computer shit. What's the worst that could happen? Bringing knives to an AI fight. Presenting your weapons for observation instead of immediately using them. There it is. That decision to run away instead of kill her will ultimately change the game. When the eventual singularity happens, and we all wonder why love didn't save us from the AI apocalypse, just remember, it's this movie's fault for putting that idea in your head in the first place. Bullshit. Ilsa is a badass and doesn't deserve to hit the fridge this easily. Unless Gabriel has some sort of upgrade situation going on, there is no way the entity could have known this is how it would go down. This is bullshit, and I hate it. And I'll now play a ding noise to indicate my displeasure. It was her first time in Venice. Her first time in Venice. Stacking chairs like this.
In one outcome, you die on that train. In another outcome, you kill Gabriel. In both cases, the entity wins.
Does it though? Your logic is based on Gabriel being the only way to find out what the key unlocks, and you have no idea if that's true. In fact, if that were true, wouldn't the entity just kill Gabriel itself and be done with it? I'm just saying, if I were Ethan, you'd have to do a lot more to pour cold water on my revenge boner than these giant assumptions and conjecture.
I managed to make a widow mask for Grace, but then it just shorted out in the middle of making yours.
The only error message it gave was cannot complete, motorcycle stunt required for plot.exe to continue.
You'll find another way to get me on that train. I just need a curve where it's going slow enough for me to jump on.
Well, thank goodness we acted that out, because my imagination is far too basic to have pictured that on its own.
Promise me you'll be on that train.
I will be there, no matter what.
And if it just so happens to require me to pull off an incredibly dangerous stunt that makes for great promo material, so be it. What the hell is up with this giant entity-branded sleep mask? Is this entity CPAP providing oxygen and brainwashing all in one?
That's too much power for anybody to have. And maybe that's what Hunt is thinking.
You know, I'm beginning to wonder whose side you're on, Digga.
The only thing I want less than this obvious and already discussed philosophical conversation is to hear it from these two plot nobodies.
Self-drive activated.
You know, the first thing I'm going to do when the sentient AI goes rogue, not trust the self-driving car to not throw me off a mountain.
Please don't disturb me before the meeting.
I mean, that's just f***ing lucky, right? How was Grace supposed to switch places with Alana if she had decided to keep Zola at her side? How do we know hers isn't a counterfeit either right now? Who's going to check the precious alloys?
You're not Alana Metsopoulos. Well, the Alana I remember was Yehide.
Oh, you false tension-mongering drama tease. Somehow Kittredge has a history with Alana, which could lead to Grace thinking she's been exposed when she hasn't. And even so, who the f*** would phrase it that way?
This is me listening.
Weird. It kind of looks like you constipated.
Well, she did a job for me.
The Grace we met went head-to-head with Ethan and kept her poise and cool the entire time. But now that the script needs some tension, she's fumbling her words. This is what's known in the business as plot-based character f***ery shit. Gotta know the lingo.
We were able to transmit an early copy of the AI to Russia's newest submarine.
I think I remember something about that from like 2 hours ago. Hard to tell. There's been a lot of meaningless action since then, but I'll do my best to keep up.
You wish to form an access with the entity, purge your government of old think, and create a new superstate to rule the world.
Wait, America were the bad guys all along? And Carrie Elways is playing a character not entirely on the up and up? Who conceived of such a unique twist? Also, let's talk about Robin Hood Men in Tights' plan. They created an AI and somehow embedded it in a Russian submarine to disable its camouflage. Then they... Sorry, I can't go any further. You built an AI that could control software, and your first thought was, let's make sure we can see their new subs? Not, let's control the stock market, or let's embed it in our enemies' governmental institutions. You went for the watercraft, handing over the keys to the apocalypse when only 13% of the blockchain has been decrypted. Power of boners, revenge, and regular gives Ethan the strength to pull off this stunt. You showed this so much in your promo material marketing and even this movie's opening credits that all this feels a little bit anticlimactic. I want to like Kittredge. I really do. But how can this dumbass think the key to stopping the most intelligent and deadly AI ever conceived is worthy of slipping into his jacket pocket? Not even his inside pocket.
Kill her.
Says the man holding the gun who has no reason to not just shoot her himself. Storing your person killer next to your person maker. The hilarious bullshit that is Ethan X hunting into this exact car at this exact time. Yes, I said hilarious. I also said bullshit. Also, didn't that guy have the key? How lucky that he didn't take it with him when he was defenestrated. Also help me if someone in the comments pipes up about that this was the way Entity planned it. I will first curse your username and then remind you that such a thing would make it even more of a literal Deus Ex Machina, so shoosh. Well, it looks like it's fist fight on a moving train in a Mission Impossible movie o'clock. Did he just put his whole body weight plus centrifugal force onto a 6-inch blade stuck into the side of a train? I mean, there are plenty of cases where 6 inches is plenty to get the job done, but I don't think this is one of them.
Don't you do it!
I'm not sure which makes less sense. That Chief Wiggum somehow shows up at the exact right time on top of a moving train, or that Ethan would even care. Ethan! This movie is full of all sorts of nonsense, but this next 5 minutes of Vertical Escape Room Story Train Edition is some of the most fun nonsense to ever have no sense. Is that fun enough to overcome the nonsense? Yes. Yes, it is. Ethan Hunt being surprised by someone who had to climb down this entire bar to get to him.
Thank you, Luther.
Ethan says, "Thank you, Mr. McQuarrie, for making sure I left the parachute in this exact spot in a compartment that didn't get pulled off the edge, strangely."
They'll be coming, Ethan.
Especially now that you've had some time to get the key information and the plot can move on. They're likely to show up at any second.
The closer someone gets to you, the harder it is to keep them alive.
I'm warning you, movie. Better not be foreshadowing a Benji sacrifice. If anything happens to them, there is no place you and your God will be safe. There's no place that I won't go to sing you. That is written.
Should any members of your team be caught or killed,
Oh,
I regret nothing! I am Agamus, and I think you and I could do awful things together.
Hey, I just want to take another look at you.
You don't know me, but I know you. I want to play a game.
I'll scream.
He's got to be here somewhere.
That day, for no particular reason, I decided to go for a little run.
You know him.
To know him was to love him, and to love him was to know him. Those who knew him loved him, while those who did not know him loved him from afar.
Warriors, come out to play.
Without a team, your life won't be measured in years or even months.
It'll be measured in
9,986,000 minutes. Surprise, motherfucker.
Trust me, I won't be a fool. I promise.
Do you trust me?
Hold on, I got you. I got you. You're gonna be all right. You're gonna be all right. You're not gonna die.